Thank you. So, uh, Pledge of Allegiance. Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. So we had previously circulated draft minutes from June 5. Are there any comments on the minutes? Motion to approve. I move to approve. Howard?
Oh, sorry.
Howard seconds. Yes. All in favor?
David, no,
Aye. Okay, so the minutes are approved, and since I was temporary secretary for the meeting, I will make sure Natalie posts the final minutes. I'll give her the final minutes. And Shannon, thank you for working as secretary for this meeting. CSC update, looking at the agenda, Margaret had emailed out an update. She said that they have not yet met as a group. They're working on establishing who the current members are, and they're working on they're continuing to work with a consultant, and then they're looking at moving forward with community composting pilot program. That is the update for Margaret on the CSC. So then Howard, the planning and ZBA board updates.
All right, this is not going to be too long. I emailed everybody a slightly more verbose version of it, but there's really not a lot to say here. Some of the meeting on their agenda had nothing to do with us. They were people needing variances from the ZBA to preserve setbacks and so on, and non-conforming. But there were a couple of interesting ones. The first one has to do with somebody called Ibanez Wetlands Permit. He is about 40% into a wetlands buffer, and our wetlands consultant, Steve Marino, actually went out and looked at this one. And his consensus was that the first thing is that he should try to put it elsewhere because he has a lot of property.
Right.
And the second one is he has to come up with a reason why he can't put it anywhere else. Normally, speaking just off the top of my head when I'm going to these meetings for a long time, the reason is they want it there. There's not really a valid reason in many cases that it has to be there and only there. And even then, just because you want something, I mean, from my position and your position, I assume is the same, as a person looking at what's best for the environment and the total aspect of the town. Just because you want something doesn't mean you have to have it. And that's what seems to be, the ZBA seems to not take that position all the time. So that's going to wind up at the ZBA and a wetlands permit most likely, which we will see as well at that point.
So I listened to portions of last night's planning board meeting on Zoom, and I did catch this section, and I think that it concluded with a referral to the CAC at this time.
Oh, at this time. Okay.
At this time, that was what I heard.
Oh, okay. I didn't catch that.
So maybe should I confirm with the Susan meeting?
Yeah.
What
confirm that with Susan meeting, because this was a workshop.
It was a workshop.
And normally the procedures, you have a workshop and then you have the regular meeting.
I agree. So I was surprised by that.
So that's why I didn't catch it. I wasn't expecting that. I must have missed it.
So
do that. Absolutely. Sure.
So I will call Susan on, not tomorrow, it's the holiday, but on Friday, I will call Susan to find out, just to confirm that they did refer the matter to us at this early stage. I'm pretty sure they did.
They probably did if you heard it. That's what you heard. One of the problems with doing this is you're supposed to reply within 30 days. We don't meet
No,
within 30 days of that meeting.
but we don't, but we could certainly circulate a draft and get them.
Well, technically, well, it's all probably do, but technically that's not right.
No, it's,
You
I
have to do this
understand.
at a meeting.
I understand.
But that's why I'm a little surprised that they did that at the workshop meeting.
Yeah, and that's why I might want to talk to Susan to say, look, we can, the other issue is that the application is still nebulous at this stage. I mean, he's going back to the drawing board based on the guidance he got last night from the planning board. So detailed comments from us, I think, would be premature.
Yeah.
I think the Steve Marino memo was on point, and I think it would be tough for us to add to what Steve wrote.
Okay, well, that sounds perfectly reasonable to me too.
Okay, so I'll talk to Susan.
Okay, now the more interesting one is of course, is the Cottonwood properties. It turns out, I must have misread the hospitality law. I thought originally it said that there would be one hospitality to a hospitality zone. Apparently, it says now, maybe it always did, that it's one hospitality allowed to a property in the hospitality zone, which is quite a bit different. You can have 5 or 6 parcels in there at some point, and each of them could then claim to be a hospitality parcel if they meet the requirements. So I'm not sure which it is, but the Cottonwood Inn people are claiming they own 2 parcels, and that each parcel is available for hospitality.
They're claiming it's part of the same inn.
No, they're not. There's 2 separate parcels owned by 2 separate people that happen to be either husband and wife or people that are very involved with each other. But it legally has the 2 LLCs, if you look at it, with separate
Hi,
names on
David.
them.
Hello, hello. Hi,
David.
Hello, hello.
So
Welcome.
technically, they could do 2 separate things on them. They probably wanted, what they were asking to do is combine the 2 of them and have 30 buildings on the Cottonwood Inn, 30 inns on the Cottonwood Inn buildings, or on the Cottonwood Inn side. And I think it said 8 on the other.
Yeah, they went for the full 40, which is how,
They
from what
have up to
Leslie told
40.
us, how they came to the number 40 was that they knew that that was going to be 40.
But you could theoretically have 40 on each of these parcels if it would fit. But skipping way ahead, at the end of the meeting, they discussed whether these were adaptive reuses or not.
Yeah.
And they said, no, these are not adaptive reuses. And so that limits them to 20 inns in rooms there on each of the parcels tops. And then to be adjudicated further is how much can you put in the side sections of the building, which are not part, because there's something called a bulk regulation in the code, the zoning code.
Mhm.
And it says how much of this property you can cover. And there's something like 10% only can be covered for those parcels, in addition to where the building is. Now, they may argue, well, we already have that, it's not conforming already, but there's a limit, you just can't, because you limit it to 20 rooms, you just can't build a huge restaurant, a huge swimming pool, and a huge, a swimming pool and I guess spa of some sort they wanted to build.
Mhm.
But there were limitations. It says in the zoning code that the hospitality zones cannot exceed what's allowed in the district by right. They can go less, but they can't go more than what's allowed in that district, in that zone. They have to be the same or less. They can't be bigger.
Mhm.
And some of the stuff they had looked a little bit bigger. And so they're coming back with more detailed stuff. This was just what I passed around, and what was on the website is just preliminary.
Mhm.
It's probably not going to be that. The planning board told them to come back with more detailed information when they came again. And so that's really the bottom line. They're limited at the moment to up to 20 of each if it'll fit. So they're limited to 40. They asked for 38, by the way, 8 on the Cottonwood side and 8 on the motel side. And
I mean, so
30 something on the Cottonwood inside.
I'm confused by the wording because when they said they couldn't be an adaptive reuse, they said they would have to limit to 20.
Yes.
And I thought that that was specific to the training center side,
Okay.
that they had to limit to 20. And then the other side would still be 8.
No, it could be 8, it doesn't have to be 20.
Right. But are they still considering the Cottonwood side adaptive reuse?
No, that's what they planning.
They're not doing that. That's not adaptive reuse either.
The existing hospitality building.
And then I'm trying to find the wording because it did at one point say you can only have one in per district.
That's what I thought.
Yeah,
That
Yeah,
was-
so this is it.
wording has now
Ma- ma-
changed.
Maximum total HOS district density. There shall be no more than a combined total of 3 inns or adaptive reuse inns in the HOS district, in which the total number of such establishments may comprise a mix of inns and adaptive reuse inns. So all 3 could be, it's maybe whoever builds first, because all 3 could be over in the Cottonwood, or you could have 2, but
So this is that it suggests that the hospitality overlay district is the whole new thing,
the whole
all the new
thing,
3
the whole new
sites,
thing. Yep.
which I guess we'd all interpret it as 1 per site, but
It doesn't have to
it
be.
doesn't say that.
It
It's
doesn't say
interesting.
that, yeah.
So what are we thinking we're saying, that they could put more than 3 hospitalities total in that?
No,
No.
it would be 3 inns total anywhere in the
That's what I
HOS district.
thought, yeah.
So
Mhm. So
But
if this is 2,
They seem to-
it could be 2.
but if they name them the same thing, they're going to call them 1.
I think Adam, they said it was
Well, this is
3, it was a parcel, and each parcel could have 1.
But she
I
just
don't
read
recall
it.
that, but
Yeah, it's not what it said.
Parcels are not going to be.
That's what I thought. He was saying parcels,
Mhm. Okay.
which it would, if you did that, you could have a lot more, but you could find maybe 2 or 3 parcels in each of the areas.
Mhm.
For example, Daytop is pretty big. If somebody subdivided that into 2 or 3 parcels, you could have a lot of hospitality just in Daytop then, by that definition. So we all think, David, what do you think in concurrence like that? It was only 3 hospitalities allowed in the entire hospitality zones total.
That's my impression.
My impression too.
Mhm. So I think it comes down to, are they calling this 1 inn that happens to be in 2 buildings, which is how I read it initially.
But none of it is going to be adaptive reuse because
No.
because the Cottonwood Motel can't be rebuilt, and the training center, where the structure's in good shape, wasn't used as an inn.
Yeah, but it could still be 2 new inns or 1.
So I know, check the audio again, but I'm almost positive at the end, Richard Phillips is the one that introduced it, I think. He said 20. They were very specific about that. So the idea that they could do 2 40s or have 80 on that 1 parcel, they said no,
Mhm.
no adaptive reuse. These are hospitality uses.
Mhm.
So that they were pretty clear on.
Mhm.
Of course, the lawyers for the 2 people who own those 2 properties weren't present, just the architect.
Mhm.
So probably at next meeting, the lawyers will show up. It'll be interesting to see how they handle that. And the other part on what I mailed you is in quotes, so I didn't say anything about that. That's taken from their documents. The only thing that I added is on the bottom here about the 20 and 20, not adaptive reuse. And that's what's in my notes. And the ZBA, any more questions, by the way?
What did they send them away to do then? They said these can't be
When-
adaptive reuse.
No.
So
Come back, there's other problems are with wetlands on the property, and they have to, probably gonna have to have wetland application on the stupid thing. The other one was the roads. They wanted these, where are they going, which roads are they going to use for exits and entrances for the properties? Fowler Road, by the way, is a it's a, what do you call it? The road is, help me out.
scenic road.
Scenic road.
Yes.
And scenic roads have limitations on them. And they have more setbacks on the sides and so on. And they said the DEC was probably not too conducive to having a main entrance on the DAC for something like that. Could be a traffic hazard. So there's some problems with where are the entrances and exits that's going to go for that building to properties, which they did not address. It's still up in the air a little bit. And I think now I covered all the issues that came up with them. So there's issues. In other words, it's not a slam dunk for them. And they did admit they know that the Cottonwood Inn property is not in very good shape. And they're going to do a lot of work on that.
Yeah.
So this is very preliminary, and as I said earlier, these two things in between on the documents are them. I didn't write that, but quotes around them. That's from their stuff that they presented. Zoning board, any other questions? Zoning Board of Appeals is very easy to report on because they canceled the meeting. Nobody showed up and the meeting was canceled. The Town of Washington board meeting. Most of that had nothing to do with us at all, none that I can find at least. It's on the Zoom. By the way, there's no Zoom for this meeting yet, which would be nice to have had. And just not for the record, but just so you know, Kim Hand, who was the secretary for both the DBA and the planning board, resigned. So there's a brand new person who probably got a little bit of a learning curve. So I don't know when the Zoom is going to get up on their site. Zoom is also, by the way, up on the internet if you look for it there, but there's normally it's up the next day. It's not up, so you can't go back and watch the Zoom at the moment. All right, now the ZBA, the town board rather, I sent you all a link for that, and it was on the internet as well. You remember Mr. Mailman, I believe. He was at the meeting, and when the public participation part started, I sent you guys all this email a while back. Check your file, you'll have that as well. He basically said, I would like to propose a swap of the acres I was trying to mine, and it failed, to have another parcel of mine zoned for mining, a small 40-acre parcel. And I will give you DLC, I think it was a swap, of this bunch of 250 or whatever parcels. Once I get the mining rights to the other parcel, and you're shaking your head, no, that's not what he said.
I didn't hear it.
It's on the Zoom tape. It's on the Zoom tape
Okay.
for that meeting. I said, and they said as well, we need to see the actual paperwork on this. It's not enough for you to come in here and talk to us. And we'll consider what you have, but we'll have to wait till you send something in writing, projects that people could look at it. And the CAC is supposed to get to see that. And so my last thing is a note here. The CAC will no doubt be involved at some point, and probably sooner than later. Perhaps we should request seeing all the documents. This is the mailman. section. As soon as they're turned in, so, and they didn't really have too much of a problem. The only problem, they said to me, that does the CAC know about this yet? And I said, no, because it just came up now, but I said they will know at their next meeting, and I'm pretty sure they would be very interested in this, because it's very environmentally sensitive. The town zoning code itself says one of the objects of the zoning code is to limit gravel mining. There's a section on mining in there, in the code, someplace in the code. Right now, I should have wrote it down. I did, but it's in the code. You can find it easily enough. And the town does not want gravel mining. That's why they put strict limitations on it. It's only in a few grandfathered spots in the town. There's an RL and an RS zone 5, I think, mainly. I think the RS is the one that has the gravel mining. And there's only a few spots, and the RLs don't have it. He wants to swap. He wants the RL. I want to call it the RL that he owns. He wants that to be converted to an RS so he can mine it for 10 years. And then he would give it over to, if I have this correct, it's on the Zoom. It would then go over to the DLC. And the DLC is not accepting it as a donation right now. It's one of his problems. But
And this is still gravel mining in order to build a lake.
he wants, and the way I understood it, he wants gravel mining to be allowed on a piece of property that he owns in exchange for donating a much larger piece of property to the DLC.
It's just so that gravel mining can happen
On
to mine gravel. It's
on
not
his property,
for
that
a
he can
greater
do
purpose.
something where he can't now. And the zoning is fairly strict about saying that they discourage gravel mining in the town. That's why we put these restrictions in. So I don't know where this is going to go. The first one that he asked for was canceled. The project was denied because he first came in and said, oh, I just want to put in a duck pond, a large duck pond. And everybody at the planning board
So-
meeting, including me, said, oh, that's nice. You're going to do some mitigation and make it more natural and so on. It turned out when the site plans came in that the duck pond turned into something like a 50-foot deep pond, which is all gravel. They had to excavate to make the pond 50 feet deep. And myself and one other person on the planning board, I think it was Andy Spence, did all the math on it. A hole that big, and how many trucks of gravel can you get out in a day? And then how many days would you have to go to get all that gravel out with these trucks? Came out to like 10 years, 6 days a week roughly. And they'd be riding on these roads all the time, like 20 trucks a day, every day. And most of the neighbors didn't like that. And I think the Dutchess County Conservation Group didn't like that either. And so eventually there was a lot of opposition and he withdrew the project because of that. But it wasn't a duck pond, small duck pond there, which is what he said he would do. So this is another reason why I think it's important that we, the CAC, see the written document, not so much what he said at the meeting verbally. And that's why I added that note here to my report that you all have. And I don't know how you feel about that. I think we should request to see those documents as soon as it is feasible and practical for us to see them. If they go forward with this. Any opinions on that? Or we just leave it at what's stated here at the moment?
Well, there doesn't appear to be any documents now.
No.
No.
Everything was verbal.
Right. So,
And I said, I am pretty sure the CAC would be interested in this project because of the nature of what's involved here. But we weren't interested in the other project.
okay.
So are we in favor of saying to the
I
town
don't think
board, whoever gets the documents, that we would like to see it as soon as it's on the table? Once it's on the table, by the way, they have to show it to you anyway.
Yeah, exactly. So, I mean, I think if there are documents, and it wasn't clear to me that there were, well,
No, not yet. Not yet.
I mean, we don't know if there will ever be documents, do we?
Well, he can't go ahead with this unless he submits something formally.
Who knows? I mean, this is, yeah, so when there's documents, we'll see them. I don't understand what the point is.
Yeah, I think
When there's documents, we'll see them.
All right, so you don't think it's necessary to remind them?
No,
Fine
I
with
don't.
me, it's either
No,
way.
I don't. I mean, I think if there are documents, we will get them.
Question is, when do we get them? That's the problem. I mean, sometimes there's a delay. And they don't think that they have to send them in right away or in intra meeting or something. And but technically, they can send documents anytime. But anytime they get them, we as an involved agency, are probably entitled to them. All right, that's pretty much it for the meetings.
Thank you, Howard. That was a very good report. I don't have any other business. Does anyone have any other business? No? Then a motion to adjourn?
I move we adjourn.
Second? All in favor?
All right.
Aye.
Oh,
It's 6:28.
wow.